Sweets are an essential ingredient of happy and auspicious occasions, and Diwali ticks all the boxes. That's why Mela's resident chef has sweetmeats on today's menu. And now it's over to Yudhika Sujanani.
Diwali has always been a festive time of the year, especially when we were younger and didn't need to watch our figures. Some of my fondest memories are of my mum and gran creating Diwali magic in the kitchen with fragrant syrups and jewel-coloured sweetmeats. I'm being quite indulgent today. On the menu, bundi laddu, gulab jamun, and then my very own creation, eggless barfi cupcakes. I'm starting out with the bundi laddu and syrup. For that, 625 ml of sugar, going into 400 ml of water. Use a metal spoon and dissolve it slightly. And it's important to get the sugar crystals to dissolve before the syrup comes up to the boil to prevent it from crystallizing. Let's get started on the bundi batter. You're going to need 2 cups of chickpea flour and then 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. 2 tablespoons of soft butter. Rub the butter into the chickpea flour. Fingertips work best. And then in goes the water. I'm using between 220 to 250 ml of cold water to make up the batter. Use a wooden spoon to mix and break down the lumps in the chickpea flour. Now for those stubborn lumps, use a wire whisk. It's important that the batter is really smooth, and that's the consistency we're looking for. It's quite a thick batter. I'm already preheating the oil, but first let's check on the syrup. Now don't flavor the syrup until it's thickened. The syrup is now ready. I'm flavoring this with saffron. You could also use some cinnamon or cardamom as well, but I love the flavor of saffron. Laddus are bright orange in color. They're quite festive. And for that, you're going to need some egg yellow food coloring, a teaspoon, half a teaspoon of red food coloring going in. Stir the coloring through. That's now ready. Move the syrup across. And now to fry the laddus, I've got the preheated oil in a pan. Turn up the heat again. And now test the oil by dropping a bit of the batter onto the side. And it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan, it pops up immediately, so we know this oil is ready. Now for that you need a colander and scoop some of the batter. Just position it over the holes in the colander and just drop little bits, and it makes these little droplets. Now use a slotted spoon, and once the bundi stops to sizzle frantically, you know they're done. And shake off the excess oil. I'm using my fancy Indian spoon here. It's perfect for the job. Stir the bundi into the syrup, and it's turning into the bright orange that laddus are famous for. And now flavor this with some ground cardamom. While that's soaking up, I'm going to get started on the eggless barfi cupcakes. First ingredient going into a mixing bowl, soft butter, 125 grams. Gradually add the sugar. Next ingredient, milk powder, 100 grams. Pour the dessert cream in. That looks ready. Scrape the mixture off the blade. Flavor this with some cardamom. Using about half a teaspoon of ground cardamom for that. And now 210 grams of cake flour. I'm adding half in. 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder and a teaspoon of bicarb, also going into the mixing bowl. Use a spatula and work that through. Next, full cream milk. Stir that in gently. And now add the remaining flour. The batter is quite thick. Now, lastly, just a pinch of salt to bring out those flavors, and vanilla paste as well. You can also use vanilla essence for this. Work the vanilla paste into the batter. It's now smooth, ready for the next step. Scoop the mixture with a tablespoon. So about 2 heaped tablespoons per case. The next one. Now for the last one. This is ready for the oven. Bake these off at 160 degrees Celsius for 20 to 22 minutes. While the barfi cupcakes are in the oven, I'm going to prepare a batch of gulab jamun. For that, starting out with the condensed milk. I've got a tin of condensed milk in here. 2 tablespoons of water. 2 tablespoons of soft butter. 2 tablespoons of semolina. A teaspoon of ground cardamom. Bicarb, and 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And work those ingredients together. Now just grab a little melted butter and grease your palms and your fingertips, and grab little balls of dough and just roll them into lengths. Butter seems to be the magic ingredient when you're rolling these. Even if the dough hardens a bit, you can just add a little butter to your palms. I've already prepared the syrup for the gulab jamun, and for that you're going to need 3 cups of sugar and 2 cups of water. Dissolve the sugar in the water and then bring it up to the boil. Let's check the oil. As soon as the little ball of dough puffs up and turns golden brown, you can start frying off the gulab jamun and pop them into the oil. And now the last one. Take out the darkest ones first and pop them into the warm syrup. And the last few. Now use a pair of tongs to turn them around. To check if they cook through, just press them slightly with the tongs and it should actually be quite soft. Take care they don't turn too soggy. Take them out the syrup and place them on a wire rack. They are a bit fragile once they've been in the syrup. And the last one. To finish up, a bit of desiccated coconut. That's the last one done. Just dusting off my fingertips. These look delicious. The barfi cupcakes have cooled down, and don't be alarmed if they look like they have a scone-like texture on top. They really are very, very soft and quite spongy, and if you break through them, you'll see they have a great texture too. So very soft, light and spongy as well. Now let's frost those cupcakes. You can use cream cheese frosting, fresh cream with a bit of vanilla and icing sugar, or butter icing as well. I'm opting for cream cheese. And just work that over the top of the cupcake. To make up the cream cheese frosting, you beat up some butter. Once it's light and fluffy, add icing sugar, and then work the cream cheese in. Just be careful not to overwork the cream cheese once it's been added, or it will cause the frosting to split. That's the last one. And now garnish with some brightly colored almonds. And I'm using a combination of red and green flaked almonds. I've crumbled them up. Just sprinkle that over the cupcakes. That's the barfi cupcakes now done. To finish up on our Diwali sweet treats, I'm just molding the bundi into a laddu. So for that, take some of the soaked bundi into your hand. And squeeze it gently, bringing it together to form a ball. Then garnish with some gold leaf. So little pieces of gold leaf. It's best to decorate with gold leaf as soon as you mold these into balls. And that's because once the sugar syrup dries up, it doesn't really stick on. That's the beautifully decorated bundi laddu done. Here are some of my indulgences at Diwali. We've got the eggless barfi cupcakes, gulab jamun and the bundi laddu. From me, have a festive Diwali.